Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Tangela, the founder of Soul Search, and I am so excited that we have John Gray, the world renowned author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, here with us today. And we're thrilled because John is going to be joining us live at the Soul Search Burbank Enlightenment Expo this coming weekend, where John is going to be giving an incredible free talk at 2 p.m. on enlightened sexuality. And then he's going to be giving a private VIP workshop from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. where people can actually do private Q&A with John, and also share an enlightenment meditation with him as well, which he's going to be bringing to everyone who'll be attending the event. So welcome, John. Thanks so much for being here with us, and we're excited to have you in Burbank next weekend.
Well, I'm excited to be there too. And, the VIP workshop afterwards is be quite fun. But let me give a kind of a preview for people of what I mean by enlightened sexuality. It's not just a Tantra workshop or a Taoist workshop and so forth, although that is a more advanced thing that I teach. But what I'll be talking about is something that's more practical for everybody. And that is, we get together, generally speaking, in our marriages and our relationships because there's an attraction, there's a physical attraction. And that juices up our ability to feel love. Okay. When you feel physical attraction, it's pleasurable. It's very pleasurable the closer you get. And that allows you to feel more. And particularly for men, it allows men to feel their body more, but they also feel their love more if they put their attention on that love and express that love. Because love is also a feeling. Okay. And men know what I love you, but they don't always feel in love with you. And making love can be a time where you restore that feeling of being in love. And when you're that way, you're very flexible and you have more energy, and things that for both men and women, when you're feeling in love, you bring that back again and again through making love. What happens is the problems that usually build up into bigger problems, the little problems don't build up because things are not annoying. Things are not bothering you. He has more energy for the relationship. She has more receptivity, appreciation, and trust in the relationship. And keeping our hearts open is an art. In previous generations, people weren't trying to be in love all the time. They didn't care about physical attraction that much. It was called the honeymoon period. And so you would have that time together. But today we want more because it is possible to have more, except people have not figured it out yet. I have figured it out. I understand how to do it. And in short, it's to understand the biology of men and women. The biology is very important, particularly at a time where we're starting to think that men and women aren't that different. Because, when women are in the workplace and women are independent, in many ways, we're not that different, but biologically and sexually, we are very different. And if you want to maintain that polarity, that attraction, there needs to be some physical polarity in the relationship. And that's hormones. Okay. I need to be making a man generally 10 to 20 times more testosterone than my wife. And she needs to be making generally 10 to 20 times more estrogen for any kind of excitement to happen. But it's not necessary in the beginning, because there's the newness of the relationship stimulates the brain chemical dopamine. And dopamine automatically raises a man's testosterone. And if a woman feels safe, then it will automatically raise her estrogen to very high levels to where you'll feel that polarity. And that's the polarity that creates the attraction, not just the newness. Everybody knows, okay, go somewhere new, do something new and different. And that can spike some attraction and some polarity. But, over time, you're living with your partner, the same person over and over and over. There's no newness. There's comfort. You're at ease with each other, which is very, very important. I have that in my marriage. But also I have the ability to ignite the passion because of the polarity which is there. And this is something everybody can learn to do, but it's not being taught now. Nowhere else teaches the importance of polarity and how to create that polarity on a physical level, biological level. This is a whole new knowledge.
And why do you think this isn't really being spoken about right now, this creation of polarity?
Nobody figured it out. Okay, so it's never been taught. But there's another answer to that. I mean, I spent 40 years analyzing men and women, right? So, and I have a great sex life. I value that greatly. And so I counsel people all the time, and I discovered how to help them restore that potency inside without having to take pills, without having to do Viagra, without having to go to new and different places, although that adds some spice to your relationship, no doubt. But you can create that polarity. Even when you're raising children, you can create that polarity. But why was this not written in books before or whatever? Well, one of the reasons is it wasn't possible. There was a certain amount of polarity in the past because men did men's stuff and women did women's stuff. Okay. When you do, quote, traditional women's roles, and if you're happy in that role, women generally aren't happy in that one role now. We've expanded our consciousness to where we can be both masculine and feminine. And with that expansion, where I can be, I access my female side. I understand women completely now, but I also access my male side. I have all my male qualities, which when you bring those two together, you get creative genius. So I write a book in a month. Okay. If I haven't written a book in a while, and it does take away a month from my life. I'm not, so I'm not going to just sit down and write a book every month. I have a life. I have my grandchildren. I have my wife. I've got my kids. The whole shebang. I'm a happy life. It's a balanced life. But what keeps the passion there in the marriage, and that's what I'll be focusing on, is having good communication skills that will actually raise the female hormones and communication skills that will raise the male hormones. But you asked the question, why hasn't this been taught before? And why is there no body of knowledge about this? Well, there actually is. Now I've taken all this research from science to explain all my ideas. I saw this back in the 90s when I wrote my book, Men Are From Mars. But I was trying to explain what traditional male, traditional female, because that's what most people were at that time in the 80s. And it was just starting to change where women becoming more like men. But at that time, I saw that when my couples in counseling who did not have sex drive, they were in role reversal, which means the woman was too far on her male side. And when a woman's too far on her male side, men will naturally follow and go to their female side. And what does that mean? When a man loses his energy, his motivation, his passion, his interest, that's a man on his female side. See, when men have high estrogen, they either become angry, irritable, bitter. That's one type of guy. Another one will become intimacy phobic. Okay, this is guys who can't make a commitment, and so they're always looking for new and different. Another woman, another woman, another woman. So they can't settle down. If they're in a relationship, they lose that romantic motivation. They no longer feel the love. They know they love their partner, but they're not in love with their partner. And the same thing for women. When women are on their male side, too far on their male side. I'm all for women being on their male side. This is wholeness. I'm a woman and a man. A woman has both sides. But the symptom is, and I just did the class last weekend with you, and I asked the women in the room, room's packed, and how many women can relate to feeling too much to do and not enough time, feeling overwhelmed? And they all raised their hands. Okay, we're just like, yes, that's how we feel. Well, then I said, how many men feel too much to do, not enough time for you? Nobody raised their hand. None of the men were feeling overwhelmed. It might be a couple of men could have raised their hand because some men are on their female side. Sure. And what I explained is, I have so many things that are going on. If I felt like I had to do it all, I would be overwhelmed. But see what a man has, if he has masculine energy, and a woman with masculine energy doesn't have this ability. It's in our brain. We have a different brain which allows us to turn off problems. We just forget it. If I don't have time for it, I don't have energy for it, my brain just shuts off. I say, okay, I'm not going to do it. No matter, hey, if I can't do it, if the sun is set, there's nothing I can do, and I turn off. Now that's starting to change with computers and workaholics and so forth. But even still, those guys are not going to feel overwhelmed because they got a computer. As long as men can solve the problems that are bothering them, they'll have energy. But when you get to that place where I don't know how to solve a problem, your testosterone goes down. And now you've got an unhappy wife. If she's unhappy, she's feeling neglected. You're a workaholic in that case. She'll feel neglected. And then you don't have no idea what to do to make her feel better. You have no idea. It's whatever men do. And if you don't have a happy wife, men, you have to understand what you're doing is not working. And a woman if you don't have a husband motivated to give you more and more and more over time without having to complain, you're doing something wrong. But it's not like it's wrong from the point of view of I'm consciously making a mistake. Women just don't know, because this is a whole new thing. You see, when a woman is on her male side, it sucks the energy out of a man if they're having sex. Literally sucks it out. It's literally the polarity of male and female. You know, if the whole traditional thing of woman in distress, man rises the case. He's emergency man. It's like a fireman. You know, there's a fire, I'll take action. He comes alive. Policeman, you know, somebody's speeding. Oh, I turn on the lights and get in my car and go after him. See, it's when men feel needed, and the more they feel needed, if they have confidence that they can make a difference, they have testosterone, and testosterone goes up. Now, a woman feels needed, and same thing, her testosterone will go up. But for women, testosterone does not lower her stress levels. When women's testosterone goes high, they're stressed. When men's testosterone goes high, the cortisol goes down. When women's estrogen goes high, her stress level is down. We can't say it causes the stress level to go down, because, you know, causation, you can't prove any causes these days. But literally in every case, when a woman has elevated cortisol, her estrogen levels are too low. Or if it's after her cycle, her progesterone levels are too low. Whenever a woman's suicidal, always, if she's suicidal, 80% of the time, her progesterone is too low. So how do we stimulate progesterone in a woman? How do you stimulate estrogen in a woman? What can she do to make sure she's restoring those hormones? That's what I explore in the class. And then when we do the VIP session where people can ask me more questions, then I can go into more detail for each person, or not necessarily every person, but whatever time allots. But, you know, when I answer one person's question, it usually applies to somebody else. And we work with these things. It's not an easy solution, because like you said, and I said too, why hasn't this been taught before? Historically, one is people didn't expect romance to last. Okay. It was the honeymoon period. So the second one is pretty much men could continue being attracted to their wives. Okay. It wasn't the kind of thing that I have, or I recommend people have, which is ecstatic lovemaking, being in love, deeply in love with your partner, feeling that. But men always had their sex drive. Even when the honeymoon period was over, men still had sex. It's just the woman was obligatory. You know, it was like her duty. You know, if you look in some countries in the world, the only justification for divorce is the woman's not willing to have sex. That's it. If the woman's not willing to have sex, then a man can divorce her. So of course, you know, you got this whole pressure on women that you have to have sex when you don't want it. So it was, you know, I've been to cultures where women don't even know they can have orgasms. You know, this is just something you do for your husband, and they don't even feel that much in it. And so the point being is that enlightened sexuality was not an issue in those days. I'm calling enlightened sexuality as awakeness, awareness of how you can maintain the sexual polarity in your life and in your relationships. Because when your sexual polarity is off, meaning when a woman's male side is dominating her female side, she will always be, that means more testosterone than it to be the right balance with her estrogen or her progesterone. When her testosterone is overshadowing, the symptom always is overwhelmed. That's the first one. The next one is, and kind of what puts her in that place as well is just circumstances. And this is hard to unpack. I mean, the circumstances, you're a single woman, you're divorced, or you haven't found somebody, and you got to support yourself. So you're doing this job. You're now doing the job. Now, even making it more challenging is you're the single woman, you're trying to take care of your children, and there's no man to help you take care of your children. So there was this really neat kind of thing in the past, which was woman is wanting to devote her energies to the baby, to the child, to raise the child at these early stages. She needs a protector. She needs a provider to help her to do that. So there's an actual biological reality for men, is that when men help someone who's helpless, their testosterone goes up. And when women help someone who's helpless, their testosterone goes up, but it's balanced with estrogen. Okay, because she has a man helping her, her estrogen goes up. And so she can help someone who's helpless, her testosterone goes up. So she has this sort of amazing state of balanced testosterone and estrogen. And of course, as the man is helping the wife because she loves him for it, his estrogen goes up as well. So it was a nice system, but we outgrew it. So we have to figure out how to bring it back. And that's what I've done as a marriage counselor, because people come to me and they want to, how do we bring it back? How do we bring it back? And while there are, things you can do that are pretty traditional in therapy and so forth, which is regular dates, good conversation and so forth. But what I've done is done biohacks, go directly to what she needs is estrogen, what he needs is testosterone. If you're going to a traditional counselor, often, they'll say, okay, you need to talk, because women say, oh, I need to connect with him. Okay. So what she'll do is she'll share some, and then she says, now he should share some. But what happens then is when she shares and he shares, you just lost the polarity. When you share inside of you, when you share your feelings, you're estrogen. If a man shares his feelings, he's producing estrogen. That's why secretly women come to me and they complain, my husband talks too much. See, 30 years ago, no women complained that. They said, my husband never listens to me. So we have to teach men to listen, and we can learn. But then women now, they're so busy on their male side, they're too busy to even want to talk. Or if they do talk, your husband's going to out-talk you. And that's his female side. Because when a woman is on her male side, man loves her. He wants to connect with her. The only way he can connect with her is go to his female side. So that's what people don't realize is whenever a man is passive, when he's not motivated, when he's tired, he's not being energized. He can be tired from a hard day at work for sure. But then there's this, he doesn't recover. Okay, why doesn't he recover? Because he comes out of his cave and, here's this woman who's overwhelmed, busy. That just puts magnets on his butt and he can't get up. And meanwhile, it's like if you were to say to her, hey, honey, just relax and have a seat, which he can do very easily, she can't do it. Often women think, why can't you just get up and have the energy you used to have? And the answer is, why can't she just relax and sit on the couch? And she'll give you all these reasons. But the reality is she can't. Okay. Because that's the difference between men and women. They are in role reversal. So this role reversal, she's holding the male polarity and her body isn't designed for that to that extent. And the man's holding the female polarity. And women have the power. Women are the ones that turn men on. Okay. It's just, and men create a situation that makes a woman feel safe to be turned on. But women, just simply their vulnerability, their circumstance that they're in, which is feeling need. That means the man's got a job. But it's not needy. That's always a challenge, which we explore in greater depth.
No, that's amazing. And I think this conversation is so interesting to me because, in the spiritual world, we're constantly talking about, the divine feminine masculine balance and bringing everything back into balance, which is what you're speaking about as well. But there's really a biological perspective to all of this, bringing that masculine feminine into balance. And we talk about, women, we have gone too much into our masculine side, and that creates a lot of issues or disharmony in our own, in our own life or lifestyle and our personal health.
Whether you have a man or not, it's going to create stress in your life. Yeah.
Exactly. And so what you're speaking about is really these biological reasons, that we have, and there's actually biological ways we can work with all of this, which is amazing because it's not just a spiritual concept of masculine feminine balance, but this is actually a concept that it's a biological.
It has to be biological because we're talking biological chemistry. This is a chemistry where you get turned on to your partner. And it's interesting. A few weeks ago, I had this pain in my back tooth. I had some infection there after they put a crown on. It got infected. And for 3 days, I was not interested in sex at all. Okay. Because my body was in a not good state. So mood has a lot to do with our hormones. Okay. So basically, if I'm in a healing mode, my testosterone is going to go down, my estrogen will go up, and I need to rest. I need to let the infection or deal with it. So, so one of the things is sex, an enlightened sexual relationship is not going to be available to everybody if you're sick or whatever. My wife of 32 years, Bonnie, she died of cancer. So the last 9 months of our life, I had no sex. I had no need for sex. I'm taking care of my wife, you know. So I was more on my estrogen side, and my testosterone was helping to save her and so forth. But that the idea of sex was not even in my awareness. So I'm not saying everybody is about having sex per se, the physical attraction, but for people that want to find that physical attraction, maintain it, I have the answers. But when it comes to even being healthy and healing the body, and if whether you're in a sexual relationship or not, understanding your own hormonal balance can be so helpful. And you know, it's a lot of this is the gene expression of testosterone and estrogen. This is in our genome. And when you're a man, when you're born or in the womb after a few weeks, the Y chromosome releases another set of male genes, and not that many, they're just like 23, that women don't have. Males have all the genes that women have, but then we have these 23 genes that override certain female genes. And that's where the differences come up. So that, you know, I can't make a baby the way a woman makes a baby. I can only help her make a baby. And all men want to do is help women. That's when they have the confidence and they know what to do and they're successful. What man doesn't want to go into the fire and save the whoever's there? I just saw a video today of a man. The firemen are all there with their hoses, and there's this dog barking in the house, and they're not going to go in. And the man who lives in the house ran into the fire. They're trying to stop him, but he ran into the house to save his dog. Okay, that's love. You know, this is his dog. This is what happens in men, but we have to awaken that part in men. And you know, when we talk about the divine masculine, divine feminine, masculine is divine. This whole idea of I can't even hold the thought in my mind. The dysfunctional masculinity. What is it? Toxic masculinity. There's toxic men. There's toxic women. They all out there, and their masculinity is beautiful and their femininity is beautiful, but they do become toxic humans when they're not in touch with their authentic biological balance of masculine and feminine. And how we communicate, how we behave, what we prioritize, how we time our life. You know, for a woman, I go into the details of her whole cycle clock, and then afterwards, after menopause, how you maintain the right balance at those times. Most people don't have an awareness of that, and yet it's all mapped out already. The whole idea of the concept of elevated stress levels, when you see that when women don't have healthy hormonal balance, and they have charts showing, you know, how much estrogen a healthy woman has, how much estrogen you need to have a baby, how much progesterone you need, otherwise you're suicidal. All those things are there. I'm the one who put it together in a nice, neat package. So you can now go, okay, if I'm having these symptoms, I don't have to go get a hormone test. I already know. It's a real simple concept. If you're overwhelmed, you're not making enough female hormones if you're a woman. And men, if you don't have a libido, if you're getting angry, if you're feeling unmotivated, if you're procrastinating your life, you don't have the same energy in the relationship. The attraction is dampened. Your testosterone is low. So you want to have a relationship skills where your wife knows how to raise his testosterone. He knows how to raise her estrogen. And on the days when our partners can't help out, we have ways to raise it ourselves. And we need to learn to do that as well. We never want to make our partners responsible for how we feel. We make our partners responsible to make us feel even better. See, it's a more positive perspective. I'm quite capable of feeling wonderful in my life. And people don't know I was a monk for 9 years. I've learned how to be completely celibate with no masturbation, none of that stuff, which is maybe why my genius sprouted up. So many men today are just losing their life force, masturbating it away. And again, I teach them how to let go of that addiction. And ultimately, over time, through a marriage, you can get to the place where you, as a man, you can just be multi-orgasmic, have sex every day, because you learn how to have orgasms without ejaculating. And in the VIP workshop, I'll be sharing that with for the women, because for women as well, how to maintain your sexual potency. So many women, if you masturbate or use vibrators, you're going to lose your sexual potency and you'll just be addicted to sex like men are. So there's a whole process which I help women to develop their sexual potency where they have vaginal orgasm, not just clitoral climax. and vice versa for men, how they can be multi-orgasmic instead of just 5 strokes and he's done. For some guys, this is becoming the common thing.
Wow. And so people are going to be really able to go into this more with you at the enlightened sexuality talk that you'll be doing. We'll be going over these concepts. And what I think is so important about what you're talking about, John, is that,
Sorry about that. There's a construction at my house right then.
Oh, it's okay. But, what's so important about what you're talking about is that, in relationship, we're able to support one another, to really have that enlightened relationship at all levels.
Yeah, enlightened at all levels, bring it to the physical level, and also be an enlightened person. In the VIP workshop, I'll be, talking about the more personal techniques that I was just talking about when it came to those extra benefits. But also we'll be doing the enlightenment meditation. It's been my experience being 50-year meditator that there's beginning meditation techniques. And if you're a beginner, they're very, very helpful. But for some people, they're already born into an advanced state and those techniques are boring. Okay. They kind of, why am I not excited by that? Well, imagine you already know how to do mathematics, A plus, basic mathematics, division, multiplication, but now you're going to learn algebra. And math is boring until you get to algebra. And for some people, you go to algebra, it's too advanced. What I see now is the consciousness on the planet is anybody can do spiritual algebra. You just have to have somebody to awaken it inside of you. And that's why I'll be doing an activation as well. Which, people who've dedicated themselves to spirituality, they can easily activate others. Just like if you were going to learn tennis, you learn from your friend or a book, you're going to be hitting like this, but you go with a tennis pro within days, you'll be hitting so much better because you gain knowledge through resonance. Okay. So, and then I teach my meditation technique, which is all about opening the channels for energy to flow through the body. And then to find the blocks in the body to send the blocked energy out to be recirculated in nature. So you recycle your negative energy gets recycled through nature. But you have to feel the energy going out, pulling in the fresh, and now you're circling the energy. That circling is flow state. And everybody in my classes goes into flow state, just like that. Then what happens is you're able to start feeling your soul desire. It's your soul desires that come true. I'm an oak tree, and my soul desires will be to make more oaks, whatever the oaks produce. Pine That's what I do. I make pine cones. If I'm trying to be a rose bush, it's not going to work. So you find your soul's desire. So your desire is aligned with your destiny, and then you have access to your genius and so forth. So that's all about alignment through being in flow state. Then you manifest by now imagining in that flow state, you're able to more clearly imagine having what it is you want. And so now, a lot of people, when they study the law of attraction, that's pretty one of the themes there is imagine. And this is an old idea. You first, you align yourself with your soul. Then when the energy is flowing, you can more fully feel, I am that, it's happening now. So that's you create the space that is happening now. And then what happens is you become more like a magnet to pull the things into your life, and your thinking shifts towards the direction where those things can happen. So that's all part of allowing the universe to support you. And then there's some higher levels. That was just 4 or 5 levels up. And I go 40 in my own meditation. I can do it pretty quickly. Sometimes it can take me hours though, depending on how out of balance I am. But pretty much I'm in that state all the time. If I give a talk like this, I go right into flow state. But if I'm just watching TV, actually, I meditate while I watch TV as well. So I'm in that state practically all the time. Because usually for people, their meditation, they're going in, but at a certain point, bring it out. And so that's higher levels you go to. But it's amazing. I take people, I forget what level we got to, but we got to source energy. This is source. And when you remember all describing, oh my God, it's like there's nothing nowhere, but I'm here. This is where you arrive at the source, the place where all your thoughts and feelings emerge, your creativity comes. And that's not that hard in a guided meditation with a teacher. And not that you're going to stay in that state. But what I find is that when we do it as a group, even for me, I'm more locked into that state because you're inside, but you're also with other people who are all experiencing the same thing. And so you want to have a shared experience. So, I always say to my wife, I'm a little narcissistic in that I'm just so generous in giving because I know I'm going to get back. Okay.
Mhm.
And as far as teaching these classes, particularly the meditations, I know that when I can bring all these souls back to themselves, I'm in a community of people that are connected that holds me in that place more.
Mhm.
I do
Mhm.
remember there was this one time where, because I was a student for 9 years of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi of the TM movement, and that was my putting her head down. As a student, I was surprised, when you have an enlightened teacher type person, and who knows how enlightened or what enlightened. I sort of describe all the 12 levels of enlightenment, how we go through them like seasons, like a
Mhm.
spiral going higher and higher and higher. So there's no one state, but you move through states. But he was talking one time, we were in the room talking about how wonderful these courses were. We must have had thousands of people in hotels, and I was his personal assistant, and everybody was meditating 8 hours, 10 hours a day, fasting. And it was really amazing. There was a breakthrough that happened, which he called it the dawn of the age of enlightenment. Because I tell you, in one week, suddenly everybody was experiencing this unlimited consciousness, unbounded. And
Mhm.
before we weren't, this is how the consciousness was changing on the planet, easy to access this unbounded quantum state of consciousness. Well, when we were all having that, and he said, after, everybody's sharing their experience, and that's what we do. We share our experiences for those that want to share, and you feel even more because we relate to people. We know ourselves. The more I can relate to others, the more I know myself. If I can relate to you, now
Mhm.
I'm over here, but now I'm over there too.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's how well, anyway, I remember him saying, he was saying, "This is so wonderful. I've never felt so enlightened." And I know his experience is that when you have groups of people all having this going into resonance together, your enlightenment becomes out there. It just becomes even bigger, or it becomes more infused into the world, which is,
Exactly.
it's what we all have to do. We want our love and light and happiness to expand out. It comes back to us even more by sharing.
Definitely. And it's powerful. And I really invite for all of you who can attend live this meditation, this enlightenment meditation experience with John, because, John, as you were saying, when we have that experience, we can never then unexperience it, right? So to be with you and to feel that transmission, and whether or not, we're an experienced meditator and go to that place on our own, or we've never had that experience before and this is the first time having that with you in this group, suddenly.
It will be an experience. It doesn't mean you can. The thing about it is the activation.
Mhm.
You always have it. That's it.
Exactly.
It's the awakening of the channels in your fingertips. There's a switch, and I just turn on. You just sit next to the fire, and your hands become warm. And once that happens, your brain makes the
Mhm.
connection. You can always do that. But then once you do that, the energy flows. You can send it in your body. But then what do you do with it? See, this is what people are missing. So many people, it's like, what are all my powers that I can access right now? We are just talking today about the power of manifestation.
Sure.
But you have to know how to direct that energy, how to stay in one state. And one way of describing it, which maybe won't relate to everybody now, but it's kind of an alchemy of consciousness where
Mhm.
you have one state. Well, that's like, here's an example of it. You're drawing energy into you. And then wherever the energy is blocked, you look to find the blocks, and there's a process for doing that. Now, energy is flowing, it hits a block. Well, the more the energy flows and hits that block, the block gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay,
Amazing.
so just
Mhm.
pushing against the block, there's just like a pounding that's happening. And so what you have to do is divert that energy that's pounding and send
Mhm.
that energy out. It's like that becomes stale, blocked energy. So you send that energy into nature, to flowers, to fire, whatever. You send it out. Then you can draw back in fresh energy in this meditative flow state. And then
Mm.
gone because you're in that meditative flow state. So think
Mm.
about how you go into flow is that you pull energy in, you're now sending the blocks out. Now you simultaneously send energy out and pull energy in. And that becomes a circle like that. Now, if you know the Hindu terms for that, that would be called samadhi. Samadhi,
Mhm.
sending the energy out. Then you have something called sanya, which is the power of manifestation. That's where the city powers come in, which is
Mhm.
when you send the energy out, but now you're going to pull the energy back in. You reverse it. And at the same time, you're reversing it and you're sending it out. And so now what you get is a circle like this and a circle like that. And then you get a circle like this and a circle like that. And then you get a halo around your head, and all of your 7 chakras are lit up. And that's the first 7 levels. And then after that, there's these other levels that we go to. And this has just been my own 50-year experience of as these levels would open up, I would just personally go, okay, if I have this, what if I combine this with the one before it? And then you get a new one. And then the new one, let that combine with the one before it, the one before it, the one before it, and you get a new one. So it's all about higher levels integrating in. But if you were to skip one, then you're missing the one to integrate in to go to the next level. So you could be doing the same meditation practice your whole life and never go beyond it, because nobody said, hey, try reversing that the other direction and then combining it together. I know that might not make sense to a lot of people right now, but the idea there is, I feel like there was a lot of wasted time in my practice because I didn't have this awareness of understanding these states and then starting to do alchemy with them and move to another level. And I haven't read this in a book anywhere. It's something that's worked for me. I share it with other people. I know there's lots of wonderful techniques out there. I don't dismiss them, but in any way. But this is a fun thing to do because I see that beginners can sometimes do as much as the most advanced. So
exactly. And I love what you're talking about with the alchemy of consciousness, and really utilizing the alchemy in our own meditation practice, because I think that's where people get frustrated, right? Because, we're meditating, but then what's next? It doesn't feel the same as it used to. And, I think we're often not taught, these different levels of meditation and the way that we can work with them in terms of the giving and the receiving of energy and really entering into that flow state. I mean, I think even when people talk about the law of attraction, right? Talking about going into the vortex and manifesting, but are you manifesting what's in your true divine alignment, or are you just manifesting what other people have told you should be manifesting in your life? And these meditation practices help us get into that divine alignment with who we are, so that what we manifest is in our divine alignment and not something that we've been told to manifest from the outer world, which I think is a big issue these days.
Oh, it's such a, a lot of meditation techniques that I'm very much approve of are really just what we often call spiritual bypass. Basically, in the TM technique, for example, a spiritual bypass, but a good technique is that you have a focal point. It's a sound, a mantra. So you're repeating the mantra, the mantra, the mantra. Your mind wanders off. And as soon as it wanders off, you effortlessly bring your attention back to your mantra. And that was a brilliant way Maharishi taught it, because a lot of people are like concentrating. They're like trying to hold on and focus. But actually one of the higher levels is concentration. But it's automatic. It's effortless. You don't try to concentrate when you're spinning your vortex this way, and then you reverse the cortex this way, and then you do the spin simultaneously. You lock in. It's like you hook into, and now you just sit there, and the vortex is spinning around you. And you're just going, "Wow, this is amazing!" Total effortless concentration. Whatever thought you have, you stay with that, and then you can fully feel it. You can embrace it. You're drawing energy into it, and so forth. So concentration is a state, but it's not the pathway to concentration. The pathway to concentration that Maharishi was teaching was just effortlessness. It's easy to have a thought. So notice it's easy to think, and then notice it's easy to think the mantra. And then when your mind wanders off, which it does, because it's not yet trained to be in concentration state, is that you bring it back and you bring it back. And each time you bring it back, you're training your brain effortlessly to come back to one focal point. And so that is, that's one level of samadhi. So what you'd see in various traditions that, guys would spend their whole lives practicing meditation, they would give names for these states. I don't need to repeat the names for them. And intuitively, if you just say the name intuitively, you kind of have that experience. But what I've done is, because we're in a different generation, you see, consciousness has changed. We're way more dense now than before. And so we live in logic and circuits. And so I look at it logically. There's me over here, and there's that over there, and there's negativity here. And what is negativity but block divine energy? So let me send that divine energy logically over there by resonating with something that has a divine frequency. So we're dealing with frequencies and energy and vibration, which is, that's what Tesla was talking about, the secrets of, energy, frequency, and vibration. Well, that's the first thing people begin to feel as they use the energy of the cosmos, using the frequency of nature, and then feeling the vibration right in their hands, bringing it through their body, circulating through all the energy centers. And then when you can combine one energy center with another, you get a different experience. And that new experience, combine that with another energy center, you get another experience. Now, the outcome of this, and I'm an example of this, again, I'm telling my own experiences, is that the powers that come to you by opening up these different levels and staying in them for a little while. There's that noise again. Probably I'll continue this on, but there are 8 basic powers that, in the ancient days, you can fly, you can walk through walls and whatever. That was at a time where consciousness was different. Now, rather than fly, you have a sense of humor. That's light. Okay, so I have a lightness to life. I was not always fun and playful in my life. Okay, that was some people were born with that power. I didn't have that power, but usually people are laughing through my talks. It's very funny. I'm a light person, but I'm also a heavy person. So that's another power, which is, a solidity. I'm unshakable. Nothing bothers me. I have the idea of complete detachment, but not indifferent. Okay, so a detachment is a power. Don't let things ruffle you. Kind of like you're an oak tree. The wind blows, you just bend a little bit. You don't get knocked over by things, and you come right back into balance. So I teach people in other workshops, when you're knocked over, how to quickly come back into balance by processing the emotions inside. We do a little bit of that in the workshop. I have to demonstrate that and give people that technique. But that's a power that comes with stability. There's another power. One of the first ones is why, when you're on the path of enlightenment, there's usually a humbleness where you have an expert who knows more than you. So it awakens in you this power of humbleness. Before my teacher, when I was a young guy, he put him on a pedestal. Well, that whole attitude was someone is greater than me. We should always have that inside of us to realize that everybody has something that we don't have. That's where you expand it out. You don't localize it to just one person. Everyone has a gift to you. Every experience in your life is a gift to you. So that's a humbleness where you're not better than all. You're not above, but you're not below. That's where you actually get the outcome of that. So that's one, is humility. Another one is confidence. Okay. Bonnie, my wife, poor Bonnie, she's, John, you're so arrogant. I say, I'm just confident, honey. I don't see anybody above or below me, but I have an answer. If you just give me a different point of view, I can change my point of view. I'm open to another point of view. But often people who are very confident are not open to another point of view. I'm studying and learning all the time. I take classes and so forth, but I have confidence in my relationship. And that's a major one for testosterone. Actually, they're all good for all the hormones. If you look at humility, that's such an amazing foundation for the power of attraction. I was watching an interview with Jay Leno, famous comedian, and he has, $300 million. They're talking about he's so rich. And he says, yeah, but I never touch that money. It's always for charity. I never take that. And they mentioned how they were changing his time and moving him around. And, Hollywood, you're getting a different time period they said, there's a big drama. How did you deal with all that? He said, oh, that stuff's easy for me. Well, why is it so easy for me? He says, it's the benefits of low self-esteem. Who am I? I don't think I'm that special. That was another way of saying humility. He doesn't have low self-esteem. He sits on his show and he's completely confident in what he's doing. But there's that fluidity. I don't put myself above other people. Then you can't get knocked down. See, so life becomes so much easier. You go with the flow. So that's a power. Confidence is a power. Groundedness is a power. Sense of humor, lightness is a power. Then you have the power of compassion, because you can have all this lightness. Everything's wonderful. Everything's perfect the way it is. That's an enlightenment state. But then at the same time, people are suffering. And
Yeah.
so you have to have empathy and compassion. And when you have empathy and compassion, now that lightness, which is kind of unbounded, is connected. And when you have lightness and connection, now you have attraction. Now you have charisma. You can pull things to you. People trust you. People are drawn to you. People want to get to know you. This is our potential as human beings. Some people are born with that power. The next power is when you have both compassion for others and you have you attract into your magnetic personality, so to speak. If you combine those together, then you can influence people. That's healing people. That was part of my life when I was an energy healer. I used to do all this energy healing, but some people are just born with that power of influencing, but they don't necessarily have the compassion or the empathy or the humility, but they're influencers. That would be corrupt political leaders, which we've had plenty of throughout history, but they happen to be born with certain energy channels that are there. And they're lessons about learning humility. They'll always go up and they'll crash down at some point and gain their humility. We're here in this world to learn lessons, to open up different channels inside of us. But once you have that channel, which is influence, then you have manifestation. And like for you, Tangela, you're a manifester. You just make things happen. You may not all have all the other ones, but you're born with that. It's just an ability you have. The way I manifest is get people to manifest for me, but I manifest them in my life. And writing a book, I've written all my books, 28 books. I manifest that. I take what's inside here and put it out there. But we all have our specialties in that. But those are like 8 powers, and they'll all come to you over time through regular meditation. And particularly if your meditation is going up to the 7, down to the 7, up to the 7, down to the 7, up to the 7, down to the 7, and then 3 above and 3 below. Those are all the 40 levels that I help people. But when I'm doing it, I'm coming from all 40 at the same time, which does the most important thing, which is activate the channels where you now have access to the cosmic energy. Or if you're a Christian, the Holy Spirit, of the universe comes through. And if you're a Christian, comes through Christ, from God through Christ. Or if you're a Buddha, you want to bring it through Buddha. It's however you want to do it, but it's cosmic energy everywhere. It's why you digest food. It's why you can talk. It's the intelligence of the universe. How about having a relationship where you ask and you shall receive? It's just learning how to ask. The system and sometimes it's the order of how you do it makes it easier. If you're a kid going through school and you're in kindergarten and they put you in 6th grade, doesn't work. If you're in 1st grade and you need to be in 2nd or 3rd, then you're bored. So you have to have the order to all these levels, and then it gets really easy. And so that's what I spent my whole life doing, is figuring out a path for people to kind of figure out what I did to get to where I was. I had to keep figuring out, how could I teach this to other people? I still really haven't figured out how to teach the higher levels, but I know when I get to source, I can get everybody to source, which is at least they can experience it. And then as you can experience it again and again, then you can go to the higher levels, because from there you can create whatever you think you create, at least the beginnings of it.
Exactly. And this is also amazing, John. And I know that everyone who's watching is just fascinated by, this part of your experience and your history, and just being able to really, teach these forms of meditation, I think is really powerful. And we're really excited that you're going to be joining us in Burbank. So for everyone tuning in, if you're in Southern California, come join us at the Soul Search Enlightenment Expo this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. John Gray will be there on Sunday teaching about enlightened sexuality, which is what we got to hear about at the beginning. And then, of course, going deeper with a private group, practicing this enlightened meditation, and then also doing Q&A with the whole audience.
The Q&A refers to the enlightened sexuality talk, because that brings up a lot of questions for people in 1 hour. How can you touch all the permutations of issues people have in relationship? So that will be a discussion area time, which is really very special. It's kind of like a counseling session with me. I do counseling sessions, but this will be like with a small group of people. And it's quite a beautiful experience for everybody. And then we'll end it with the enlightenment meditation.
Okay, wow. And it's going to be amazing. John actually held this workshop this past weekend in Santa Clara, and it was really powerful. And everyone there was really deeply, deeply impacted. So we're looking forward, John, to this weekend. Thanks so much for sharing all of this with everyone today. And also stay tuned because we're going to have some opportunities online to be practicing meditation with John Gray coming up soon. So we'll be announcing that, and it's going to be a powerful experience for all of us. So we can't wait. So thanks so much, John. We'll see you soon. We'll see you this
Thanks,
weekend.
everybody. Thank you, Tangela.